Welcome to Vitalityville, where natural health is home.
My name is Matthew James. When I was 4 years old, my skin turned blue and my throat closed over. This was my first near-death experience with contaminated food. I almost died. However, I soon developed a mysterious rash all over my body. This rash quickly turned into severe atopic dermatitis. For the next 30 years, I was experimented on. A fleet of highly trained and specialized doctors took turns prescribing me a variety of ointments, creams, steroids, antibiotics, antihistamines, sedatives, antibacterials, and immuno-suppressants. Ironically, as I found out, all were unnecessary, but in each case, I contributed to the medical professionals' bottom line, making them richer and richer. In fact, the sicker I became under their care, the more profit they accrued, and the more dependent I became on their pain management system. It wasn't until I began to look deeply into natural health alternatives that I suddenly realized the only problem I had was trusting their industrial pharmacological system in the first place. Trust started waning after I learned, to my shock and horror, the sordid history of Bayer AG, currently one of the world's largest pharmaceutical corporations. Founded in 1863 as a dyestuffs company using raw cinnabar or mercury to create vibrant colors and paint known as vermilion, Bayer's first and best known product was an analgesic branded under the trademark aspirin. Marketed as safe and genuine, numerous contemporary research studies have shown that aspirin causes intestinal bleeding, ulcers, clotting issues, and gut microbiome destruction. Soon thereafter, Bayer registered copyright for their new drug called heroin or diacetylmorphine. It was marketed as a cough suppressant and non-addictive substitute for morphine for over 2 decades. Bayer next invented a substance called phenobarbital or luminol, used by Adolf Hitler in 1939 to murder a disabled boy. The 5-month-old boy was given a lethal dose of luminol after Hitler sent his own doctor to examine him. A few days later, 15 psychiatrists were summoned to Hitler's chancellery and directed to commence a clandestine child euthanasia program using the drug. One of numerous atrocities included the murdering of 50 intellectually disabled children who were injected with luminol in 1940 at a clinic in Ansbach, Germany. In 1925, Bayer was absorbed into IG Farben Corporation, the world's largest chemical company, and played a critical role in the Nazi war effort and involvement in the Holocaust, including involvement with the Gusa Corporation, who manufactured Zyklon B, the cyanide-based pesticide used to murder 1.1 million people in concentration camp gas chambers, and also the purchase of humans for dangerous medical testing. A Bayer medical employee wrote to Rudolf Hess, the Auschwitz commandant, concerning anesthetic experimentation, quote, "The transport of 150 women arrived in good condition. However, we were unable to obtain conclusive results because they died during the experiments. We would kindly request that you send us another group of women to the same number and at the same price," unquote. Bayer paid 170 RM per person. Fritz Meyer, IG Farben director and Nazi Party member who directed the experimentation program at Auschwitz, was sentenced in 1948 to 7 years for war crimes uncovered at Nuremberg. Released in 1950, after only serving 2 years, he was elected chair of Bayer's supervisory board in 1956 and remained in this supervisory position until 1964. Around the same time, Bayer introduced a pregnancy test called Primadose that consisted of 2 pills that contained norestrazone and a phenylestradiol. The drugs detected pregnancy by inducing menstruation in women who were not pregnant. The test became the subject of controversy when it was blamed for birth defects. 10 years later, the drug was withdrawn from the market in the mid-1970s. However, litigation continued into the 1980s, and review of the claims were deemed inconclusive by the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency in 2014. In 1978, Bayer purchased Cutter Laboratories and took over production of the Alka-Seltzer brand and your children's Flintstone vitamins. Along with the purchase also came Cutter's Factor VIII business. Factor VIII, a clotting agent used to treat hemophilia, led to what the New York Times called one of the worst drug-related medical disasters in history. Except that it wasn't a disaster. It was an atrocious crime. From 1983 through 1985, Bayer knowingly sold HIV-contaminated blood products for at least 2 years to Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, and Argentina, giving thousands of people AIDS. Because they were offloading a product they were unable to sell to European and US markets. In the late 1990s, Bayer introduced a statin drug called Baycol, or Survastatin, but after at least 52 deaths were attributed to it, caused by kidney failure, Bayer pulled the drug from market in 2001. Tracelol, or Proptenin, used to control bleeding during major surgery, was withdrawn from worldwide markets in 2007 when reports of increased mortality emerged. The drug was later reintroduced in Europe, but not in the United States. Additionally, in May 2018, Bayer's acquisition bid to purchase Monsanto Corporation was approved for $66 billion. Monsanto, of course, being embroiled in numerous health lawsuits involving its Roundup herbicide. To summarize, once I learned the real history and truth behind Bayer and other such companies, I felt compelled to question my own reliance on their medications. And I suspect that as more information is made available to the general public, charting the real history of pharmacological corporations, an increasing number of people will question their allegiance to the current system and seek viable alternatives through natural health and wellness practitioners. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. And for all of us here at Vitalityville, I'm Matthew James.
Thank you for listening to the Vitalityville podcast.